Right now, there's probably a spider somewhere in your house, and you don't know where, and that thought alone just made your skin crawl a little. But here's the strange part. This year, that spider has almost no chance of killing you. Meanwhile, something you never think twice about walking past could end your life 1,000 times more easily. So why does the 8-legged thing get all the fear, and the actual killers get none? Let's start with the numbers, because they're almost embarrassing. In the US, spiders kill somewhere between 6 and 11 people a year. In Australia, a country crawling with some of the most venomous spiders on the planet, the number of confirmed spider deaths since 1979 is 0. Not low, 0. Meanwhile, mosquitoes, an animal most of us swat without a second thought, kill over 600,000 people globally every single year, mostly through malaria. Dogs kill about 20 people a year in the US alone. Wasps and bees kill nearly 100. Even lightning outkills spiders. And another human being is, statistically, thousands of times more dangerous to you than any spider you'll ever meet in your life. Now compare that to something people also fear. But for once, the fear actually lines up with reality. Snakes. Snake bites kill somewhere between 80,000 and 138,000 people a year worldwide, according to the World Health Organization. That's a real, massive, ongoing threat, concentrated mostly in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, and people fear snakes intensely too. So here's the puzzle. Snake fear tracks with a genuinely enormous body count. Spider fear does not track with anything. It's the same intensity of panic, aimed at something that, statistically, is barely a threat at all. If fear were a rational response to risk, spiders should barely register. Instead, they're one of the most common phobias on Earth. So if it's not about actual danger, what is it about? Here's where it gets interesting. Back in the 90s, a psychologist named Arne Ullman ran a series of experiments trying to figure out how fear gets learned. He'd show people 2 categories of images, things like snakes and spiders, and things like mushrooms, flowers, and electrical outlets. Then he'd pair some of those images with a mild electric shock and measure how quickly people developed a fear response. The results were strange. For snakes and spiders, it took exactly one pairing, one single shock, and the fear stuck. For the outlets, the guns, the mushrooms, it took repeated pairings, over and over, for anything close to the same fear response to show up. And even then, it faded faster. Your brain, it turns out, doesn't treat all dangers equally. Some threats get fast-tracked straight into the fear system with almost no evidence required. Others, even genuinely dangerous modern ones, have to earn it the slow way. That's not a coincidence. That's a leftover setting. The leading theory is that this fast track exists because of deep time, not modern life. Early humans in Africa spent millions of years living alongside venomous creatures, and the individuals who reacted instantly to a shape like a spider on a rock or a cave wall were, on average, a little more likely to survive long enough to pass that reaction on. Over enough generations, that reaction stopped being a choice and became hardware. Nobody had to teach it. It just came pre-installed. Except there's a problem with that story, and it's a big one. If this fear evolved in Africa, where humans actually spent most of their evolutionary history, the geography should match up. It doesn't. Some of the deadliest spiders alive today, like Australia's funnel web, aren't found in Africa at all. They're in Australia and South America, 2 continents humans only reached relatively recently, evolutionarily speaking. So why would a fear supposedly built in Africa be this intense towards spiders that early African humans never actually lived alongside? A researcher in Prague named Daniel Frinta looked at that exact contradiction and proposed something clever. Maybe humans never evolved a fear of spiders specifically at all. Maybe what actually got wired in was a fear of scorpions, which absolutely were a serious, common, and deadly threat throughout early human history in Africa. And spiders, with their similar silhouette, similar legs, similar unpredictable scuttle, just happened to trip the same ancient alarm by accident. Wrong species, same panic button. His team even tested this across cultures, comparing people in Somaliland, where scorpions are still a real everyday danger, to people in the Czech Republic, where they basically never encounter one. In both groups, scorpions triggered a stronger, faster attentional response than spiders did. The alarm wasn't really about spiders. Spiders just happened to be close enough to set it off. There's a second explanation running alongside that one, and this one has nothing to do with evolution at all. It's cultural. A psychologist named Graham Davey has argued that a big part of the modern intensity around spider fear traces back to a much more recent event. The plague years in medieval Europe. When disease was spreading and nobody understood why, spiders became an easy target for blame. Something small, fast, appearing suddenly out of dark corners, crawling near stored food. It looked exactly like the kind of thing a terrified, disease-ravaged society needed to point at. It wasn't really about danger anymore. It was about disgust and contamination. And once that association got embedded into folklore, art, and storytelling, it didn't need a reason to keep going. It just kept getting passed down. And here's the part that makes this whole thing land. In 2017, a lab wanted to know whether any of this shows up before culture even gets a chance to teach it. So they tested 6-month-old babies. Infants who can't talk, can't have watched a horror movie, can't have been told a scary story about spiders by an older sibling. They showed the babies pictures of spiders and pictures of flowers and tracked their pupils. Larger pupil dilation means a measurable stress response, and the babies who saw spiders showed it. 6 months old, before language, before memory, before anyone ever had the chance to teach them to be afraid. So layer it all together. A fast-track fear circuit that only needs one bad encounter to switch on. Built originally for scorpions, not spiders. A medieval disease panic that turned a mostly harmless creature into a symbol of contamination. And a nervous system that never got updated for the world you actually live in now, where the real threats, the mosquito on your arm, the car in your driveway, the dog that isn't yours, don't trip any alarm at all, because none of them look like a scorpion on a cave wall, which is why exposure therapy, the main treatment used for phobias like this today, works the way it does. It's not about learning new facts. Telling someone the statistics rarely helps, because the fear was never built on statistics in the first place. It works by slowly, repeatedly, showing the brain that the alarm is misfiring, letting the nervous system relearn, encounter by encounter, that this particular shape isn't the ancient threat it thinks it is. You're not irrational for flinching at a spider in the sink. You're running a program that's millions of years old, tuned for a threat that mostly isn't standing in front of you anymore. The spider was never really the danger. It was just the closest thing that happened to look like one.